Hi Supriya.
Hi, good morning, Dolly.
Good morning. Could you please share what would the client achieve by doing the workshop, and what should they know before they sign up for this workshop?
Okay, so let me actually start by busting a myth. Okay, the Propeller workshop is not does not have a magic bullet of any sort.
Correct.
It is a lot of hard work. Yeah, it is a lot of hard work on the part of the team. Yeah. So if you think that it'll be a place where all participants they've done their own work on their parts of the mix. They come in and they share what they have done, and everybody kind of applauds their work, and we all go back happy. No, that is not what the workshop is about. The workshop is meant to take some really hard decisions. Right? The workshop is because there is something that does not fit in, and we need to find what that is, and we need to fix it. And if we need to do that, then we need to take some hard decisions, right?
Yeah.
So the readiness for making some tough decisions and at times going back to the drawing board is supremely important when people walk into the workshop. People tend to love the work that they do. That's a no-brainer, and therefore I have seen and experienced a lot of resistance in people to kind of want to change what they have done.
Yes.
There is every effort to make sure that what I've done kind of flows through, because there's so much else that people have to do. So that is the bit that we need to at times challenge. And I would say there are two questions that we need to ask ourselves to determine the success of a Propeller workshop. It's something that we always bear in mind and ask ourselves. One, what is right for the business that we are running? And second, what is right for the people who are going to invest in our product and buy our product, and possibly we should flip the order. Yeah, so the consumer comes first, and then we also ask the question, because we have a business to run.
True.
We ask the question as to what is right for the business. I would actually go to the extent of saying that because these decisions are tough, there is involvement of senior leaders that becomes quite critical. Yeah.
Okay.
Be decisions on investment, be decisions on to go back to the drawing board on certain aspects. So if there is no appetite for senior leaders to be involved in that decision making within the workshop, you would rather not do the workshop, because it's not likely to be successful without involvement of senior leaders.
True.
To get the big picture.
Okay. All right. Okay.
The first thing that I would talk about is defining the target audience. Yeah. The challenge, it's not that people don't know who their target audience is.
Correct.
Okay? The challenge is how they define it, right? Today I've seen, most definition of the target audience being limited to the demographic profile.
Yeah.
Income levels, age, gender, so that's the typical definition of the target audience. You need to treat your TG as people, as humans, right? There is more to people than that demographic profile, right? And you need to be clear, who is this person? What do they think? Yeah. What are their priorities? How do they make decisions in their lives? Right? And understanding a bit of that context gives you extremely rich information that is that helps you sharpen the proposition, the product, the tweak to the product, all of it.
Yeah.
Right? So I would actually like to maybe flash one little example. It's a favorite of mine. So this is Storm shoes, right?
Okay.
Now their motto and objective is to use business to improve lives, and they link the act of selling a pair of shoes with giving a pair of shoes to somebody who cannot afford it.
Okay,
right?
That's interesting.
And I think that is so wonderful. And if they have to do that, and if they have to sustain a business like that, the shoes have got to be expensive, and the people who are buying those shoes have to be willing to pay that kind of an amount. And therefore, and why would people do that? People would do that not just because they have like these outstanding shoes, but because they believe in what Tom's Shoes does as an organization, the philosophy and the
Sure.
purpose. They believe that if I am buying a pair of shoes, I think somebody else who can't afford it should also get a pair of shoes. And that is the philosophy and the belief that they tap into. And that's a very strong definition of who are they catering to. They're not catering to people who don't believe in that philosophy.
Yeah.
And it's important to therefore define, who those people are. Now this is rooted in purpose. It may not be rooted in only purpose. It could be other things. It could be a need gap. But that definition that cuts below the skin on who is this human being I'm talking to is supremely important in TG definition. That's one thing that we focus on. The second thing is around design of the product.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, design of the product is, not just the formulation. The design of the product is about crafting an experience for the consumer.
Sure.
And telling a story to the consumer. That story should be narrated through all touch points. In the packaging, in the formulation, in the narrative, in your advertising, everything has to flow. The experience has to flow through everything.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
In fact, I came across this. I was just browsing through Instagram a couple of days back, and I came across this brand which is called, I think it's called Old School Rituals.
Yeah. I've heard about Old School. They are using, I think I've seen them using various spices, and they also talk about, the spices been used for various rituals, which are so much ingrained in our tradition. So yes, I've seen
So it is spot on, and I'm glad that you also picked it up, because it is a very single-minded experience that they offer. So I have not used the product,
Sure.
but what I saw on Instagram, and I went to their page and I saw what they had there. It was very steeped in Indian tradition, right?
True.
So what is that experience that you are
Designing for,
designing for?
What are the ideal time investment the businesses would need for such workshop?
Okay, that's a bit of a trick question. So I can't put one number to it.
Sure.
Right? But let me explain.
Yeah.
So the first step, and which I think we should all give a lot of time to, is getting the objectives of the workshop really clear. And that requires a fair bit of conversation initially.
Yeah.
That is your step one, right? Till the time we are penning down very clear objectives and where we want to get to at the end of the workshop, we will not start anything. And while a lot of times we feel going into the workshop that, we are very clear, that is not true. When we listen to briefs, we do ask a lot of questions, and at times people have to go back and think of, okay, I didn't think about it, can I give it some thought and reconsider. So that all goes into the brief. That's just step one. The second part is, I would say, that's the lot with with hard work and some intense conversations, because that's when our team deep dives into understanding from every function what they have done, what are the challenges they face, and understanding of why they think they face those challenges. Right? When those conversations happen, we also get people to build materials that are very tightly defined and very sharpened. How are the materials sharpened? They are sharpened because of the questions that we ask. We hear from one function, we hear from another function, and we are pushing people back on some of the stuff that is being pulled into the workshop. So the presentations in the workshop are not 200 slide presentations.
True.
They are really succinct, they are to the point, and they're very crisp.
Yeah.
And it takes time to get to that, right? So that phase of pulling together the right level of content and meaningful content takes a fair bit of time. Once that is done and we go into the workshop, which is everybody together in the room, that in itself is possibly can range from a day to about 3 days. If you're doing some live consumer connects, then it could be up to 3 days, but otherwise it's a day or two for the actual physical getting together in a room and making decisions.
Sure.